Hi, or ciao, as we say here in Italy, as that's where I'm speaking to you from. My name's Ian Lister, or for filmmaking purposes, I become Ian Charles Lister. I use my middle name as well because there was already an Ian Lister on IMDb, so out there in the filmmaking world. So I needed to distinguish myself. I'm the director of Lulu in Turin, and as you can hear, I wasn't born in Italy. I was actually born in Newcastle in England, but I've been living in Italy for the last 35 years, and the city of Turin, Torino, has been my home for the last 30 or so. And my film is Lulu in Turin, and obviously was shot in the city. So, what were my inspirations for this film? It started a long time ago. I've had the dream of making a film for a long, long time. My original idea was to adapt a book by the Nobel Prize winning author Jose Saramago, but obviously to get the rights to film a book is very difficult. I did actually write to the Saramago Foundation. They never got back to me, but that planted some seeds, which obviously have then come to fruition. I took the kind of main uh, plot line from that book, which is the search for a mysterious woman. I obviously adapted that completely in my own film. In this case, it's a search for a woman in a portrait, and there was also the final scene. The book ends in a cemetery. It's very, very sad ending to the book. I'm sorry if that's a spoiler if you haven't read it, but I don't think I'm giving much away. I wanted my film to end in a cemetery. I had an idea for this final scene in mind for a long, long time, with some particular music. I was also thinking of filming that using a drone. That didn't happen, but I did manage to get the cemetery scene in there. Basically, when I didn't receive a reply from the Saramago Foundation, I decided, okay, I want to make this film. There were various things which led me to make this decision, to decide the time was right, getting on a bit, and then a sad reason. There was a former pupil of mine. I'm an English teacher. I've been teaching all my life, well, all my working life, and for many years I taught in a middle school, and there was one of my former pupils who a couple of years ago died in a climbing accident in the mountains, and she had a great career ahead of her, and that was also a spark to make me think, okay, you know what, never know what's going to happen, so if you have a dream, try and make it come true. So I had this idea, a search for a mysterious woman. I had the idea of the final scene in the cemetery. When I was scouting locations, Turin has a beautiful monumental cemetery, and I discovered this tomb of a woman. I won't say any more because this is kind of that would be a spoiler for my film, but that tomb and the story behind this woman became an important part of the film I wanted to make. The search for the woman, that got me thinking about obsession. It made me think of one of my favorite films, Hitchcock's Vertigo, and Vertigo is heavily lent on in my film as well. There's definitely a homage in there to Vertigo. There's a portrait, there's a necklace, there's one particular scene which is very reminiscent, hopefully, of the transformation scene in Vertigo, but with a twist. And at a certain point, I thought, okay, how about making this film a little bit about me? In the end, it's kind of semi-autobiographical. When I was younger, I had a bit of an obsession for the silent film actress Louise Brooks, and I thought, why not work on that idea of this obsession You're looking for a woman who looks like Louise Brooks in his portrait. So things started to come together. But there was one important factor missing, which was the lead actress. I needed a lead actress I wanted someone who'd never acted before, and I also needed someone who was going to be prepared to go through a transformation, to be transformed into someone who looked a little like Louise Brooks with the famous black bob, 1920s hairstyle. And that search for this actress then became part of the film as well. The film, in the end, it's got this Chinese box structure. It's a film within a film. It's about making the film. It's about the search for the actress. And then there's the search for this mysterious woman who I see in a portrait. And all of that leads to this finale in a cemetery. It's a little difficult to explain more, but hopefully you get to see the film and find out more about that yourselves. The production was great. It was a fantastic experience. So I was living a dream. It was the dream I had of making this film, and it all went by almost in a dreamlike state. I began filming in April, finished filming in July, and then I spent the whole of August, this is 2023, editing. So basically it was a one-man crew with a little bit of help from my friends. In fact, there was a lot of help from friends and colleagues who appear in the film as well. I have a friend who's an artist, and he's in the film both as himself and as another artist. He also painted the portrait, and other works of his appear in the film. I have another friend who's actually the wife of the artist, who's a singer, and she and her group appear in the film as well. In the end, the lead actress, and this was just one of those situations where things fall into place. So I had this idea, I needed my lead actress, and then one day, I now teach English and have done for the last 15, 20 years in a university in Turin, and one day into my class walked this girl, and I thought she would be perfect. And then, of course, how do you ask a student who you've met a couple of times whether they want to make a film? I did. She was obviously interested in all about it, and decided to make this film, and I think she's amazing. She's won awards all around the world, but is not particularly interested in pursuing acting as a career, but I think she certainly could. So that fell into place as well. And then while filming, certain things happened which meant I had to change the story and screenplay a little, and then ideas came to mind. So while I had the main plot outline in this Chinese box structure, which was never very clear at all to the other people who were participating in the film, it was clear in my mind what I wanted to do, but not for a lot of people who were involved. So putting all these things together, in the end, I came up with the final version of Lulu in Turin. It was interesting filming in and around Turin. I mean, basically, as I say, I was a one-man crew, so apart from writing the script, casting, directing, cinematography, sound, editing, I also scouted locations, and then talked to people who were very good, let me film in various locations around Turin at no cost at all, like one of Turin's famous cafes, the cemetery, some of Turin's famous cinemas. It's got the great cinema history, which also comes out in the film. Basically, the Italian film industry began here in Turin, and there are a lot of old, very beautiful cinemas, and a couple of those appear in the film as well. So it was a very enjoyable process. I wanted to film completely independently. There is a film commission here in Turin, and Turin is actually a very popular place to film. They're filming things all the time, both cinema and TV here in Turin, because it's a great city, great locations around the city, and it's cheaper than other cities in Italy. But because I wanted to do everything independently, I didn't contact the film commission, and just did everything off my own bat, as we say. In terms of the role of cinema for society, I think first and foremost, I really think cinema should entertain, but entertainment doesn't just mean making people laugh. It's obviously all the popular genres of cinema. It can scare people, it can make people cry. I think if cinema can produce these strong emotions, I think it's doing a good job. And on top of that, if it can make you think, I think any genre of film can make you think about things, about society and how society could be better. And I think my ideal film, I would always say, and my ideal film would be a film that makes me laugh a little, might make me cry a little, and certainly makes me think. And hopefully my own film might make you laugh. There's a little bit of humor in there. Whether it'll make you cry, possibly, and certainly I really wish that it'll lead you to think about a few things, because as the story in the film developed, there became a very strong female presence in the film, and that's an important message, I think, which hopefully comes out of the film in the end. In terms of this age of streaming, metaverses, and artificial intelligence, I think cinema, as it has throughout its history, will adapt. It already is adapting. I think there's a place for all of these things. I think artificial intelligence is obviously the big elephant in the room, the artificial elephant, and at the moment, hopefully we will always have control over how we use that. So I think personally, I made the film in a way which was kind of harking back to old cinema. I made it on my phone, which of course they didn't have, and digitally, but I tried to use a few effects in there, but very old-fashioned ways of creating effects, like crumbled pieces of plastic, a broken CD case, use of a simple light, things like that. I think artificial intelligence is going to make, obviously, lives easier, to be able to do things that now can be quite complicated. But as I say, at the moment we do have control. So director or cinematographer, whoever, is the one who's asking the artificial intelligence to do something which they have in mind. Obviously, if then we lose that control, well, that's going to be a problem, not just for cinema, of course. In terms of independent filmmakers, the hybrid model, I think streaming is obviously here to stay. I just have to plug in my mouse here, because I might not be able to read all the questions. It's kind of annoying. I wasn't expecting it. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, because there's a final question further down. Yeah, obviously, when I started cinema film around festivals, I had a few things I was hoping for. First of all, to get selected somewhere. Then it started to be selected in a few festivals. Then obviously you want to win something. It started to win a few things. Then my wish was to be screened obviously in a festival, and it has been screened in a few festivals, but online, and that's fine by me. I can understand a lot of festivals maybe only have just even one day to show films, so they can't show all the films they've selected. I also wanted to have the experience to actually physically go to a festival. I was able to do that and had a great time in the GTX festival in Georgetown, Texas. Again, my film was screened over the whole weekend, and in a sense, that's one of the advantages of streaming, because rather than just the one single physical screening, it could be available for a longer period of time, which allows as well theoretically more people to see it. However, I am still hoping that at some point there will be a physical screening of my film. That would be my final wish, and I'd be extremely happy with. I already am extremely happy for how things have gone with Lulu in Turin, and that would just be the final icing on the cake. Work in development, I do have an idea. So this Lulu in Turin was my first film. Hopefully it will not be my last. I broke a lot of rules. As a first film, I made a feature film, which is fairly unusual. However, as a second film, I have in mind short, but I won't say anything more about that for scaramancy, as we say here, and kind of little superstitious. So we'll see what happens there. Okay, so hopefully I've given you some useful background to my film, Lulu in Turin, and to myself. Just to finish, I was delighted in the TIFA Theatre Festival to have been nominated as a finalist and to win the Silver Anuma Award for the screenplay, because I think great films always start from a great story. I've given you some background to how this story developed, and I've always enjoyed creative writing. I've written a few books together with actually my colleague and friend who's the singer who appears in the film. We wrote those for middle school students learning English, including a trilogy about time-tripping teenagers. And so the writing part, writing the script, was also very rewarding. And there are some scenes which hopefully you'll see that a lot of thought has gone into that screenplay. And as I say, I'm delighted that this festival actually recognized the value of my screenplay and the story which it transmits. So thanks for listening, and hopefully you get to see my film at some point, Lulu in Turin, and enjoy it.